Hey, everybody, Ralph Williams and Doug Thompson with Bottom Line University, and we're here today with part two of building a winning business plan. We're going to jump right in. We're going to go, how do we create your database touch system? Here's what we recommend: that you talk, touch, somehow lay hands on, or a text or an email or whatever it takes at least 12 to 36 times a year with each of those people that you hope to be building relationships with, so that when they do decide they're going to buy or sell real estate, there's only one name that comes up, and that's yours. Here are 6 places that we think you should spend some time making all of this happen. So when we look at newsletters, there are a number of agents around the United States and Canada that send out newsletters. We receive 2 or 3 ourselves every month. And we're always grateful for those. They're always different, but they bring something to the table that says, okay, pay attention. And then we always see the picture and the name of the person who's doing that. Another thing is a market report. And we see a number of agents on social media, whether it be that way, through text, through emails, through phone calls, and giving people insight. We talk about the market report. Can we do a complimentary CMA for you? Whatever we need to do to let them know that we're there to help them. The third thing would be milestone gifts. And this is a card, like, for example, myself, I always sent people birthday cards on June 1st. And the reason for that, I sent everybody on the same date. It was real simple. It made an impression that it had people actually calling me and say, you know what, it wasn't my birthday, but it was kind of cool hearing from you. And inside that card, I would say, hey, I can't remember if I'm early or I'm late, but I want to make sure you know I didn't forget you. Happy birthday. So how you go about touching people in different ways makes all the difference in the world. The fourth thing is a service directory. And we're talking about your clients. We're talking about anything that you need to look at, think of. You've got a list here, you've got a list there. You just want to make sure you're compiling these things in such a way that you're doing it effortlessly, number one, but number two, effectively. And then there's the drop by. I love this one. This is when you just happen to drop by, knock on the door, say, hi, this is Ralph or this is Doug. And then you tell them while you're there what you're looking for, that you might have buyers or sellers who are looking for something in this general area. Can they help you? And finally, social media. Look, we've got so many opportunities today to put ourselves in front of other people. And if we're not taking advantage of that, shame on us. So remember, you want to touch people in your phone, whatever your databases might happen to be. You want to touch them at least 1 to 3 times per month. That's 12 to 36 times per year. And if you do that, we guarantee you're going to do more business than you ever imagined. So with that said, let's look at a smart week.
Well, gang, when we talk about a smart week, it's really important, obviously. We need to be organized and systemized to be successful in real estate. The more organized and systemized you get, the better off you're going to be. And you're organizing your calendar is one of the very first things in that step-by-step process. So when we look at the smart week, we've talked about this before. And the reason that we have to continue to talk about it is sometimes we have to hear things 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. And then finally we say, okay, must be that important. So now I'm going to go ahead this year and I'm going to follow this. And this will help you immensely, gang, to keep yourself on track. Now, it doesn't matter what calendar system that you use, whether it's your Google Calendar or it's the old style where you have a book and you actually keep track in it. That's fine. Wherever you keep track of your calendar or in your CRM, that's great. But here's the thing. There has to be a step-by-step process that you go through. First thing is to block your time. What we mean by block your time is that, say as an example, like for Debbie and I, we actually are up early in the morning at 5:30, 5 in the morning. Then we go for our walk and our exercise like we normally do. And then from there, back in, have our breakfast. And then by 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, we're ready. We're in front of our computer and we're doing work. So what is the schedule that you keep? I don't know, but you need to block that time. So also, as far as prospecting goes, as an example, for all the years I was in the real estate industry, from 8:30 in the morning till 11, that was prospecting time. So it was locked in and we're prospecting and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in that time frame to reach out and touch those people, as Ralph just said, as much as we possibly can, as many times as we possibly can throughout that calendar year. Now, how often do we go out and touch base with these people? We touch base with them, as Ralph said, 12 to 36 times. But for your database, to call them at least once every 3 months and block that now into your calendar that you're going to call X number of people each day. So you get through your entire database over that 3 month period. Now, if you've got that time blocked, you'll actually get that done. If you don't have that time blocked, I promise you, life will get in the way and you won't get it done. So next to that, also use the once you're done your blocking, now we're going to go to color coding. Color coding, there's 4 different areas that we need to deal with. And we break it into 4 different areas because we want you to be able to look at your calendar and know exactly what you're doing and what you should be doing at a set time by the power of color. Because we all know our eyes go to color and then therefore we know where we're supposed to be. So for me, again, when I said 8:30 to 11, that would be a green time because that's making money time. Anything that's green is making money. So, we see lots of people's calendars that are working too much. They got way too much green and not enough of the rest. That's going to be a problem. That's a recipe for disaster. We have to try to have harmony on this calendar, and you'll see as we go through this a little bit more. Now, the next part is yellow. Yellow is your systemization or your organizational time, gang. This is when we have to be out there and we have to actually be uploading our listings hypothetically, or creating a new post, or anything that is yellow that is organizational. That is, you block in time so that you actually know when you're going to do that and how you're going to do that. When you're looking at in today's world, as far as all of the really strong content creators, they are blocking in where they'll have like a 2 or a 4 or a 6 hour day that they block out that is just straight for content. And us as real estate agents, if we're going to be active in social, we need to block that time. So that would be a yellow time that we're going to block out for that. Then we go to pink time. Pink time is our personal time, gang. That's the time that we say is for ourselves, is us. And again, for me, that is the early in the morning, 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning. That's my time where I get to go for my walk. I get to have some little bit of exercise time. I get to listen to something that is motivating for me and hopefully learn something that day, because we always know that we need to continue to learn, continue to grow. So take advantage of that each day as we're going forward. So you might have also for pink time, as in the many years that I was in the real estate business, we used to have a set time for supper with our family. Made a mistake in the first few years of our life and didn't do that. And that's a problem, and it's something I hope that you guys don't do. So block off a time that you're sitting at your kitchen table with your family, and you hear all kinds of fun things that happen throughout the day, and all kinds of fun things that, oh yeah, didn't go the way they were supposed to. And then you have to deal with it accordingly. So, but block that off, and pink is the power color for that. Then we have white space, gang. White space is very important. It might even be the most important because we utilize that to control our time. So in the calendar, we're going to have spots that have nothing in it. And those spots that have nothing in it, those are white space. And the reason that that is so powerful is that what we're going to try to do to control our time is we're going to try to get people to insert into those times instead of us changing our time in our calendar already. So as an example, somebody wants to do a listing appointment with you, and you look at your calendar and you say, okay, I have a opening between today at 3 and 4 in the afternoon, or I have an opening tomorrow between 4 and 6. Which would work better for you? Now, the idea behind that, gang, and please listen closely to that dialogue, that was an alternate choice close to give the customer the opportunity to pick one of the 2 times that matches into your calendar. And that is powerful because now your calendar didn't change, they matched into your calendar. So the calendar part is really important, and it's your option to decide how you're going to handle that and how you're going to deal with that as you go forward. But yes, this takes a little time, takes a little effort, but once you start doing it this way, you will see it'll reap a great reward for you. So with that, let's go to what is your value per hour?
So when I look at, the whole idea of considering what my time is worth on an hourly basis, I have to know that there's a formula to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our gross closed commissions. That's the total amount that comes in before we split it with the broker, before any of those costs are taken out. And then we subtract the expenses from that. And that tells us what our net income is. And what we notice is net annual income divided by 1,800 hours. Now, here's why we say 1,800 hours. That's the average number of hours that realtors say they work per week, per year. And when we break that down, you're going to love this. It's like you've got a part-time job. Because in reality, if you work 1,800 hours a year, that means that if you work 36 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, you still wouldn't be working what's considered to be full-time hours. So that's another one of the reasons why people love getting into this business. But what you're looking for, take your number of hours. You've just done your time. You set your time up. You know where everything is. It's easy to figure that out. And once you do that, now you can say to yourself, okay, what do I need to do if I want to raise my hourly wage? Well, there's 2 or 3 things. You can list out all your activities and calculate the number of hours it takes to complete this each week. And what we've discovered is when we really sit down and we break all those numbers out, we find areas where even inside the time that we think that we're working, we're actually wasting time. And so bottom line, we want you to really take a look at what you do. We want you to schedule your breaks in. We want you to make sure that you're giving yourself the greatest opportunity to win. So using your value per hour, consider if you should continue doing this yourself or delegating certain tasks to other people. What we find out is sometimes we end up spending more time on minimum wage tasks, and therefore that cuts down the major opportunities we have for earning big commission dollars. So with that thought in mind, I'd like to see us looking at knowing our numbers.
Knowing your numbers, gang, is very, very key in my world. I've always believed in this. I was shown this at the very beginning of my career, and I can't believe how important it has become. Ongoing, yet today, even in Ralph and I's business, we do this exercise ourselves all the time. Because if you don't break it down, you don't know how much you have to do or how much you have to accomplish each day to actually make it all work out at the end of the year. So let's just step into it. So again, in the example that we have here today, we're using a gross closed commission of $200,000, and we're using an average end or a half of a transaction for $1,000 is what you get paid. Now, needless to say, you have to adjust that to your market and to where you live accordingly for that amount of commission. So you know how many deals you need to get done to accomplish that task. So in this example, obviously there's $200,000, $10,000 aside. You're going to end up with 20 deals that you need. So let's just run through the example now. To be able to make all that happen, how many listings do you need to take this year coming up to be able to accomplish that task? How many listing appointments do you need to go on to be able to make that happen? Because let's face it, as we're going to get further into the example, you don't get to list every house you go on. Now, how many contacts do you need to be able to get a listing appointment? As you're seeing and you're paying attention, it's starting to stack here. One is directly connected to the other. How many days will you work in 2025? Now, I've been doing this for a long time because at the end of the day, here's the thing. There's many different number of hours and days and weeks that real estate agents work throughout the calendar of the organization of each individual realtor. So you have to figure it out for yourself and then adjust accordingly. How many contracts do you need to be able to, contacts do you need to make all that come true? Well, we're going to figure that out in a minute. How many listing appointments do you need to each week to go on? Well, sometimes it's going to be a big number if you want to make a really big gross closed commission, and you're going to see how that works in a little bit. How many hours a day do you need to work? Well, here's the thing. After going through this for many different real estate agents all across Canada and the United States, my average that I know is somewhere between 20 and 25 hours that real estate agents work. So it's shocking actually to see that average is as low as it is, and yet you're making a very good living for a lot of you. But let's remember, the ones that are really rocking it and really making the numbers, they're working far more than 25 hours a week. So just to keep this in mind as we move forward. So now, if we need 20 transactions to be able to accomplish our task, then we have to look at the number of transactions that are on a listing side and the number of transactions that are on the buying side. And everybody's different with that, gang. And some people just like to work with buyers, and that's great. Some people like to work mostly with listings, and that's great. Now, there's a stat that's important for us to remember at this point is NAR says, National Association of Realtors says, that you'll work 30% less to make the same amount of money if you're a listing agent in comparison to a buyer's agent. Well, I'm kind of lazy, gang. If I can make more money in less time, that's my goal. And therefore, I prefer to be a listing agent. But let's work forward into the deal today, and you'll be able to see how this all breaks out. So for today's example, we used 50% and 50%. 50% being listings, 50% being buyers. And now we come to our conclusion as far as to how to work this out as we go on through. Next, we look at the fact that, how many listing appointments do you have to go on to be able to attract one listing? Well, the thing of it is that we're not going to get them all, but we have to try. So if you're newer in the business to get a listing, you're probably going to have to go on 4 or 5 listing appointments to get one actual signed listing contract. So you have to, yes, work hard to be able to make that happen. That number shrinks, of course, as you get more experience and better at what you're doing at the end of the day. So now what we look at, if we're looking at 3 listing appointments instead of 5 or 2, as you get better, that rate will actually go up. And so, but we still know that you can't get them all. Now, how many listing appointments do you need to go on is very important. How many listings do you need to take is very important. And then at the end of the day, how many listing appointments are you going to get? Well, if we look at 80% as a calculation and we need to go on 30, that obviously makes 36 listing appointments to make it work for a year. So it seems like a lot. It's not that bad. But you can definitely do it if you decide to make all this come true and work for you as you're going forward. Average days that we work in a year as far as a realtor goes, I put 225 days in there because I know, again, after polling many realtors for many years, that at the end of the day that we don't work 50 weeks a year. We say we do, we say we'd like to, but we really don't. You're a lot closer to probably 45 weeks a year that you actually work, and hence this is where the calculation comes for the hours. Now, moving forward from that, you have to look at how many contacts. If you have 36 listing appointments and you're newer in the business and you need to touch 100 people to be able to get that one appointment, you need to have 3,600 contacts during that year. Now, seems like, oh my goodness, that's such a huge number. Well, it is a big number, but when you break it down again, as you'll see, we'll do in a minute, break it down per day. Next thing you know, it all flows and it's not anywhere as daunting as you thought it was going to be. Now, that's the breakdown for the listing side. The buyer side will be very similar. And we're going to see in a minute when we go to the next slide is that when you enter in the information, the calculator that we have within the actual business plan does the work for you. So let's go to actual knowing your numbers part 2. So now, by now you've either already got the business plan or you'll be asking us to submit the business plan and we'll work it out from there. Now, when you enter in your numbers to whatever you want as far as the gross commission goes, and you enter in your average transactions per side, the rest will get done automatically by your computer. The only other calculation you have to put in is what percentage of the business is that you do that is for listings and what percentage of your business is for buyers. And of course, year after year after year, as you grow, if you get stronger on the listing side, because that could be and might be your goal, then that percentage will go up, the other one will go down, and you'll see the work will change as we move forward down through the page. Now, when you put that information into the top quadrant that we have here today, the rest of the information auto fills all the way down to the bottom for you. So it'll immediately tell you that, bang, this is how many contacts I need to make every single day to be successful. So now I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, gang, that it's going to be so much better for you if you honestly know how many contacts you have to make every day. If you honestly know that this is how many people you have to phone, email, text, whatever we got to do, but touch base with people then the picture becomes a lot easier to deal with. What do we say? You can't eat an elephant in one bite. You got to take a whole bunch of little bites. So that's what we need to look at, and that's why it's broken down the way it is in our program here today. So with that, let's go to the summary page. Now, last week, gang, we talked about the expenses. We went through the expenses. We went through your business expenses, your personal expenses, which is critically important that you go through each individual area so that you get an idea of just how much money you're spending. It's very powerful to actually see how much you actually are spending, because a lot of the times the fact is you don't really realize that the $100 here and the $500 there and the $600 there, it adds up to a big number at the end. And next thing you know, you either still made a really good profit, or you need to adjust next year and look at it again. Now, the power of our presentation again is that in our business plan, when you added in all those numbers up top in the slides previous from last week, those numbers autofill into this particular area. So again, you know immediately where you're at as far as the base costs go. Now, your estimate of your taxes, well, you have to decide on that yourself personally, whether you have an incorporation or you don't, you have an LLC or you don't, and how you utilize that as far as your taxes go. But you still got to pay tax. Nobody gets away from that one for free. So there has to be a number in there of some format, right? Now you'll put that in. Now, estimated desired savings. Now, this is probably one of the most important ones that we have to deal with today. What do they say? The wealthy pay yourself first. So put a number in there that you're going to pay yourself. Start off low if you have to at 3% or 4% or 5%, and eventually build that percentage up that you're getting more and more and more, that you're paying yourself first as a part of your annual income. But again, start small, start early, pay yourself every single month, and you'll be further ahead as you move forward. Now, average gross commission per end, we talked about that already. That's going to be there. Your contracts made required annually. Well, same thing. That's going to be there. You're going to have that information now because it's already calculated for you. Average sales and list ratio. Now, your sales to list ratio, of course, that's a different ratio that we have to look at. And we talked about that last week. So that would go in there. And then numbers of appointments to get for 1 week. Well, again, that all calculates for you. So the picture is very clear to you. Number of appointments achieved by getting listings for your goal. Same thing, already calculated in there for you. So number of appointments per year. Well, let's face it, gang, it's going to be a big number if you have a big goal. If you have a smaller goal, it's still going to be a big number for you because that's your goal as to where you go from there. So, I think it's really important for you to look at what and how you're going to take and look after that for yourself as far as your goals and your dreams and how you're going to go forward. But the system that we have, the plan we put forward for you here, will make that light come on and make it way cleaner and clearer for you to move forward. So with that, let's go to the components of an effective goal.
Goal setting, one more time, it's part of business planning. And sometimes we set goals without really giving as much consideration or thought to them as we probably should. So one of the reasons that we're helping you with this business plan is so that all these different numbers are calculated, and it gives you an idea of what you've been doing. And now you can start deciding what you'd like to do. And then we keep track of that and we find out exactly what we did. So total clarity of your desired outcome is the number one thing when setting goals. The second thing is we need to write them down and we need to visualize whatever it is that we're looking for. I remember early in my career, I used to cut out pictures of things and post them on a mirror or put them on my desk. And it might have been a car, it might have been who knows what, a vacation. But the whole idea that I wrote the goal down, I had visual effects all around me to continue to remind me what it is that I was going for. The third thing, and I don't know that enough people really take this seriously, but whatever it is that you're about to do, when you set your goals, make it a challenge. Make it something you're going to have to go the extra mile to make a reality. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out there and do something impossible. I'm saying stretch, Force yourself to do a little more than what maybe you've been doing historically. And I think you'll see a major difference in the results. Must be identifiable with your belief system. One of the things that Doug and I have discovered in our coaching business when we work with people one-on-one, we find that when it comes to be able to meld your goals with your belief system, that's something that most people don't think about. But if you've got things that are very important to you, whatever the reasons, make sure that what you do professionally allows you to do that without compromising your belief system. You need to be authentic in who you are. Yes, we say that you need to become the character of need in the hour of need, but even in that, authenticity is everything. And whatever goal you set, it's got to have a deadline. You can't say, okay, so I'm going to make $1 million. Now it's going to take me 140 years, but see, there's a time. You set a time. I would like to see you shrink that time, all right? Because it's doable. And finally, the goals have to be realistic and they have to be doable. So here's something that's really important. We set a goal and we believe it to be realistic because we've done all the calculations. The program, this business plan, does all the calculations for you. All the numbers come up and we look at them and we say, oh my gosh, if I do that, and we start getting this look on our face, that's more than challenging yourself. Maybe the goal is unrealistic. Maybe it's not doable given your history. Well, remember, we're changing ourselves as we go through this. And when I say that, I mean we're constantly making adjustments so that we can reach the goals that we set. I would like to say this as well. There are times when we get off to a great start and we run right past our goals. We do better than we ever imagined. And then sometimes we'll say, okay, now I can just kind of rest and coast and everything. We're saying, no, don't do that. Adjust your goals upward. Now, what if you get a slow start and let's say by March, you're saying, I'll never be able to catch up. When you recognize that, adjust, change your goals. There's nothing dishonorable about that. That's being honest with yourself, being realistic, and it will keep you from becoming frustrated because you've set a goal that cannot be met. So adjust your goals up or down as needed. Don't do it just so you can take a break or take a rest. Do it because you're learning yourself. You're learning your tolerances. You're learning what you can do, what you're willing to do, and also back to your belief system, what you're not willing to do. And once you get that all figured out, man, you are on such a great track for building a career that's worth having that you're going to be a happy camper, and so are Doug and I that you're doing so well. So with that thought, I would like to have you have the opportunity to meet with Doug or I. So let's take a look at making an appointment with Ralph or Doug. Now, we're going to say that we're more than happy, more than willing to spend 40 to 60 minutes with you, no charge whatsoever, just to find out about how you're doing, what you're going through, what we might be able to do to help you move forward faster. If that's something that would be interesting to you, if you'd like to spend 40 to 60 minutes with no charge to you whatsoever, pick either one of us, Ralph or Doug. There's the contact information. You can plug in that Q code. You can make an appointment. It'll take you to our calendars, and you can look and you can see where there's an opening for you and for us. Plug it in, and we will then be meeting with you and helping you go to whatever the next level is that you're seeking. And finally, let's take a look at the heart of the matter. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed part 1 and part 2 of building a winning business plan. And we hope you'll take these things very seriously. They can make all the difference to you and your family as you move forward. And we want nothing but the very best for you and your family. So from Ralph, I hope your time was well spent, and I'll pass it to Doug for the close.
Thank you very much, everybody, also for taking your time and being here today. I sincerely hope that this year is the best year coming up that you've ever seen, and you really are setting your goals and setting your plans in action and going for it. you don't go for it, you don't get it. And with that, that's a wrap, gang.